Hello, good evening and welcome to the 1885 show. We're back with a new session, a live show as we're warming up to Millwall's opening game of the 2026-27 campaign away at Bristol City. I am joined by a full panel tonight, which we'll go through everybody in a moment. We've got plenty of opinions, plenty of predictions, and knowing this lot, plenty of arguments as well. We've got loads to get through tonight. We'll have a look at the new third kit, the current injury situation, what we still need to do in the transfer window, Bristol City, our predicted starting 11s and score predictions, and more importantly, you as well. We're going to get your points and opinions in the chat on screen. We're going to have a look at your comments so that you can get involved in the conversation as well. Good evening, Leslie. Thanks for joining us. Says, all right, boys, let's have a good start at Bristol. Yeah, I hope so as well. We'll be getting more of your comments up throughout the night. So, as I said, we have got a full panel. Jordan can't really tell us too much about what his day was today, but Jordan was somewhere very, very exclusive. Welcome, Jordan. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Yeah, it was a fantastic day so far, and looking forward to the conversation tonight.
Yeah, so looking forward to that coming out as well. That'll be out just before the West Ham game. Usual as well. We've got Charlie who's sitting in a garden or something. Charlie?
Mate, it's too hot. It's too hot to be sitting in a house right now.
Yeah, it is. And then I've got Harry, Callum, and Matt. Gents, how are you?
All good,
mate. Yeah, all good here, mate.
Excellent. Yeah, happy days. All right, Chris, welcome, mate. Right, before we get into serious stuff, then I want a bit of a gut reaction, right? Because it is the opening game, and we've had the World Cup, we've had all the build-up, we've had the pre-season. How are you feeling? I mean, I don't care who comes in, but what is your gut telling you going into the opening game? Are you optimistic?
I think nerves.
Nerves.
Oh, okay, cheers. But that's a good start. To be fair, I think I'm a little bit not as positive as I've been in the past. I think because of, we'll talk about more in great detail about obviously the injuries in the squad, but I'm not as confident as I would be. But then the excitement of the new season isn't as much as I normally am. And I think maybe because, and I'm pretty sidetracked, is because we've had so much football over the summer that I haven't missed it. And therefore Millwall have come back and it's like, oh, we've got more competitive football now up there. Oh, it is Millwall, but it just doesn't feel right. It's the start of the season because the amount of football we've had throughout the whole summer, it just feels like it's just rolling on. But saying that, it's good to get up and running. It's good to start game 1 out of 46. I'm not as confident, and we'll go into it in a little bit more detail later, but I haven't been as confident as I have been in the past, but maybe that's just
fair enough.
How other teams have performed.
You boys share that sentiment? I'm excited personally because look, we didn't expect to have the season we had last year. You know, it turned out to be an amazing season, albeit we had injuries and we had quite a poor start after the result at Norwich. But I mean, Jordan, Charlie, Callum, Harry, whoever, you said nerves, Harry. What makes you nervous?
I just think it's the first game of the season. Like I said, the injuries have already started to pile up and we've not kicked competitive all yet in the league. I think it's just always, isn't it? You don't know what the team's going to look like. There's no guarantee that we can do what we did last year. There's no guarantee. We've seen teams before get the playoffs and then nearly get relegated the next season. We don't know what it's going to be like. Sometimes, you go on a run and you just can't get out of that rut of not winning games. So I am excited. Of course I am, because it's club football. Millwall's back. And as much as I love watching England in the World Cup and Euros, nothing beats club football, especially when you win. So I am excited, but Bristol City aren't a bad side, and the signings they've made this year, which I'm sure we'll talk about, they're a good team. And I always feel that you need to get something on the first game, even if you just draw, but you need to get something. So yeah, just nerves, to be honest. It's just excitement, but nerves at the same time, because I feel like we need to get off with a good start, just because we haven't had the best pre-season in terms of results.
Yeah, fair. I agree. Charlie, Jordan, Callum, you share that?
Yeah, no, I think I agree with the same thing. I think probably myself and Cal can probably justify this because it was our best season in our lifetime anyway, going from last season. And in that sense of, at least every other year you miss out on playoffs and you think, okay, cool, we'll go again. And at least worst case, you're in mid-table. But finishing so agonisingly close last season with the build-up, obviously you're having to wait for England to finish before you get into, and that obviously halts transfers and everything else as well. You obviously look at everything going forward. You do look at it as there's expectations this season which we would have had last year. We've obviously had the Femi saga, which has been going on the whole transfer window for ourselves.
Yeah.
There's just been so much going on at the club, which doesn't normally happen. And obviously, that's a positive in terms of where we are as a club at this point in time, much bigger than West Brom. And then obviously, you go in that, these sort of moments where we are, looking at the season, but you also, I don't think ultimately our transfers, maybe out of bar like 3 or 4, have been as exciting as most of us probably thought we would have been. But again, that comes down to the fact that we've obviously still got Femi and that situation that's going on.
For now. Jordan, your thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I think, look, I never read too much into pre-season. I think, Neil's probably just trying to figure out what his best 11 is. I look at the squad. There's not much palpable difference from our squad this year than last year. We've got rid of a few players, some players who may be looking to take a step down the footballing ladder, but nevertheless, we've recruited well. So on paper, our squad this season is a lot more of a higher quality than it was last season. However, and saying this, I think it's really important, and we'll go into this, I'm sure, later in the show. The teams around us, the teams who we vying for the playoffs and within that top 8, they're recruiting exceptionally well. I look at Bristol City. Of course, they've had a couple of poor performances in pre-season, but they've recruited really well with the likes of Ballard and 𝗕𝗏𝗪, getting some good strike force up there, people who can score goals, albeit at a slightly lower level, and giving them an opportunity to test it in the second division. But fundamentally, I'm looking forward to this season. Of course, it's going to be high highs and low lows as you go with every season. And of course, I'll say this every year, the competition this season is far greater than it was last season. But nevertheless, I think it's going to be a good season for Millwall fans, an optimistic one. And I think we just need to back the boys on Saturday and throughout the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Quick fire, Callum. Instant gut reaction heading into the season before we move on.
I think we probably will lose, mate. I'm not going to lie.
Mate.
Leave it there. That's what he's done.
Yeah, no.
Leave it there. That's enough.
Yeah.
Because I don't think this is going to brighten your day.
There's a negative for you.
I don't think this is going to brighten your day, but we'll move on to a lighter note. Dan, can you please put the image up? Because Millwall did release their new 3rd kit today. And, I mean, I'm just going to throw this to the chat and to the panel. I mean, guys, look, just anybody come in. I mean, my mum always said to me, right, she always said to me, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. And I never really understood what that meant. And now, today, I kind of realised it was for moments like this. I mean, thoughts, chat. Tell us your thoughts on that. I mean, boys, what do you think? I mean, I'm opening it up for a free-for-all.
Absolutely shocking.
I mean,
Absolutely
I don't think
shocking.
I've ever seen. I mean, first of all, the badge is probably the best one we've had in a while, and then you go and ruin it with the colours.
It's the blue of the ramping lion, isn't it? It's banging.
But it's just the actual colour itself is just. And now you've got Charlton fans online piping up, trying to be about mockery and imitations, and trust me, that's not the club you want to try and imitate. So, yeah, it's a joke.
Do you know what? I'm more surprised that Palace fans haven't been saying too much about that kit.
What would you change about it?
I mean,
there's been a few variations I've seen online, right? That if you turn the sponsor, etc., white, that it probably wouldn't look too bad. And I do kind of share that sentiment. If you turn that right,
is there a cream like collar, or is that just my eyes?
No, sure, right.
That's white.
You've got holiday eyes, mate.
You staring at that kit so long last night.
Yeah. I mean, that is enough to you'd probably get more blinded looking at that kit than you would looking straight into the eclipse. I mean, the lucky thing is, right, chat, the lucky thing is, panel, that we ain't got to wear this often. I mean, you can just see the excitement on Lisby Baggott and Casper Denore's faces. They look really, really pleased to be wearing whatever that is. I mean, we've had some, look, people say, why is it red? But we've had loads of red kits. I don't have a problem with red. I like the red. I think red's really, really good. We had a successful period, when Sheringham was at the club. That was a fantastic red kit. I think it was Lewisham. I believe it was Lewisham, that all red, the top and the shorts. That was a quality kit. We've had some good red kits, but I mean, the blue, what are we thinking? And the shorts are red as well, right? If they're going to be contrasted, be contrasted.
Yeah.
I mean, someone on the chat just said it's worse than that Husky kit. Do you remember that Husky kit?
What, the one with the...
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I think the Husky kit was worse than that, this one.
No, I don't think the Husky kit was worse than that. I think that's what I genuinely look. And look, this is an opinion. We're not going to start slating people for build. They spent a lot of time and effort making this kit, and I'm a grown man. I'm not going to wear it, but I honestly, genuinely believe it's the worst kit I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for the black and white stripes with the lion inscribed at the bottom. I was hoping for a remake of that.
Black and red, it would have been great, right? If it was that red and everything else was black, and the shorts being black, perhaps. yeah, great. I'd have been all over, all over that. Yeah, yeah. As Connor says, red and black or green or yellow. We've always seemed to have, it's usually, right, it's blue and white, home and away, and then yellow or green. I don't know why we've gone away from why we've gone to the red. The red and black last year I thought was class. The one that you're wearing, Jordan, I thought was class. Really, really top kit. But the chat don't seem too happy about it. I know that Millwall Twitter's not very happy about it. You boys ain't happy about it, but I'll go around the room anyway. Charlie, out of 10, what are you giving it?
4. I hate it.
4, yeah. Cal?
2.
Matt?
I'll give it a 3. I don't see the reasons behind the colours. I really don't.
No. Jordan, Harry, what are you saying?
I'm going to be controversial and say 6. It's not a nice kit. It's not easy on the eye. I think it's lacking symmetry. I think if the view and the Wigan group was white, I think it'd look a lot nicer. But nevertheless, it's not going to be worn too much.
V-neck as well, though. Harry, V-neck, massive V-neck.
Yeah. I mean, I'm giving it a 6 in terms of I'm putting it 6 feet under. It's an awful kit. Is it? It's Sunday League team, that kit we've got there. That is the worst kit I've ever seen in my life.
Dan, clip that up. I'm giving it a 6 to put it 6 feet under. Do you know, I agree. I think it's awful, but it may grow. You know, I thought that the green kit last season wasn't very nice as soon as I saw it, but when I saw it up in person and I got a bit used to it, I actually began to quite like it. So I didn't think it was that bad. Maybe this will do the same. I mean, I doubt it. But look, at the end of the day, the kit is not what's going to win games. So it's a very, very, minuscule thing for us to be upset about. I mean, I'm not upset about it. I find it funny. But, it ain't gonna be the reason we don't win or win games. They might have gone really bright for when we go up to Birmingham and it's hammering it down and we might not lose 4-0 this time. They may have done it so we can see other players. But as Frankie says, podcast royalty there, red and white kit, back up front and centre of the promo, up the Indonesians. Yeah, he's wearing the same colours, I suppose. So he's wearing the same colours. Yeah. All right, so that's the kit then. Everybody's got their opinions on it, and I believe that most people don't like it. But let's get into the nitty-gritty of the squad then, because let's talk about injuries. Now, the injury situation is something we've really got to keep an eye on at the moment, because particularly going into the first game, we had this problem last year, and I do honestly believe that we're in a better position staff-wise for managing injuries. I do think that we're in a better position to do that. And I don't think that, the injuries are going to cause us massive problems down the line, because only Kramer, I think, is the longest term. I think everybody's a couple of either a few weeks away, like Derek, or, Alfie's now a month minimum, and Ivanovic, they could be back by the start of September. But we've had a few knocks, and there are question marks over some players, and we start the season on Saturday. And it's not that we've got injuries to players, it's that 5 of them are considered perennial starters. Thoughts? What's your thoughts on the injury situation?
It just feels like every season we go through the same, innit?
Yeah, it is.
Every season we just go through the same thing. Look, you look at the injuries that we've got. I mean, you said it, 5 starters, but again, we've got the depth now that we can actually bring players in to that first 11 that can contribute to the team. So I'm not really too bothered. The problem for me is the club have brought in a new man to deal with these injuries, but nothing's really changed for me over the summer for it to go in the long term. So, I mean, they need to look at it, the club, because every season we go into it and we always get injuries to key players. Obviously last season we got a few players out injured, like key times of the season. So the club needs to address it, because it just keeps happening every single year. I think as a Millwall fan, we always say the same thing every year, where we get injuries to key players and then we have to miss out on the style of play as well. And I think it doesn't help with the style of play as well. I think does these injuries mean that we have to play slightly different with these players that are out injured, or are we going to play the same with the players that are out and then with these players that we've got available? So that's another question mark that I have as well going into Saturday.
I actually don't think the situation's worse than it was last season. Not right now.
No, not at this stage. We hit more of a midpoint.
I don't think so. No.
I was saying, in terms of like mid part, like during the season, I think that was the worst part, where we had to put the likes of 𝗟𝗟𝗓 and 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗘 obviously as kind of the holding CDMs at that point. I think that was the worst point we got to, once kind of everyone, we've kind of run through the whole list at that point. We had even Dan Kelly come in for a surprise appearance and then again got injured. So yeah, he did play well for the 2 games he was there, but again, you're kind of looking at the reserves get injured, and then I think that was the worst point we had in that season, is when we had to start kind of playing 𝗟𝗟𝗓 everywhere, which we know we can do because the guy covers everywhere. But obviously, I mean, to be fair, it was kind of a blessing, to be fair, because it kind of did allow us to take 𝗟𝗓𝗓 off of the wings and put him in his best position where he's kind of dictating the play. So it was a blessing in a disguise, to be fair.
What about you, Jordan? I mean, I think for me the biggest problem I have is the fact that they are starters and that they're also the covering player for another position, right? If you look at 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘, he was probably going to start left wing to allow 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗪 to come into his own a little bit. You look at 𝗬𝗓𝗧𝗬𝗓 was probably someone that we'd like to get going after a strong pre-season. 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘 is someone that was probably going to take the reins of that 6 role. And in the big one, you lose 𝗕𝗥𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗪, which is so detrimental to the way that we attack that right-hand side. The dynamic of our attack from 𝗕𝗥𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗪 on that right-hand side is such a huge loss for us. I think that's where the pain lies, is that they're all such critical players, mate, that are out at the moment. And with the window open, I spoke to Gallen at the fans forum and said to him, will this impact the transfer window? And it won't, because these players are not out for a long time. It just means that the start of this season could potentially be a bit rough. And if it is, this would be the reason why, right?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you do look at it that if it was the likes of players like 𝗂𝗏𝗏 and those that are on the cusp, you do pretty much kind of look at it as a sense of like, you wouldn't really be, you'd be obviously like, in terms of reserves, you're thinking, right, who's going to come in if he is injured? But ultimately, if 𝗂𝗏𝗏 gets injured at any point in the season, I'm not crying about it. So you are looking at those type of players getting injured. But then ultimately, like you said about 𝗂𝗏𝗏 is probably the biggest one that we're going to miss. And because he is detrimental to how we play, and he is probably one of our biggest game players throughout the whole season.
And the thing is, Jordan, as well, is that we're now, I'll come to Jordan, we're now capacity, right? So even if we had space to bring players in, you think, okay, we could bring players in maybe to fill the void, but these players that are injured are not going to be out for that long. But we probably still need to do work anyway, right? We probably need a winger to come in, probably need a fullback, and we're going to need players now to leave in order to facilitate that. But we've also got players that are on the injury bench. You cannot register players, so there may be one or two. Maybe Coleman doesn't get registered, maybe Luongo. There's one or two that we could not register to facilitate that. What's your thought process on the injuries?
Yeah, I think, it is, as has already been said, the same old story season after season. But nevertheless, I know there's been a little bit of criticism of some of our recent signings that have given us more depth, the likes of Luongo and Dykes. But ultimately, if they just give us something different or allow Coburn and 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗬𝗏 an opportunity to take 20 minutes out of their game to go and sit on the bench after putting in a hard graft, I think ultimately it is what it is. But more broadly, alongside all of that, we are at that point now where the hedge is starting to be at a point where it needs to be cut back and allow the space for more opportunity to thrive. And I look at the squad, there are 4 or 5 players who I think could probably benefit from a loan or take a step down a level. And of course, there's going to be outgoings elsewhere as well. And I look at who we're being rumoured to potentially be interested in. And ultimately, I think one thing we need to do is shore up depth and quality in that depth. Because last season, some of the replacements perhaps could have put in an extra 10% in their games. And that's what I think is pivotal, that whoever we sign in the range or this transfer window doesn't only add depth to the team, but also quality as an alternative.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I wasn't laughing at your opinions there, Jordan. They were very valid. I was laughing at Paul, who tells everybody to smash the like button or he will make you wear the new 3rd kit this season. That'll be enough to get the like button sent through the roof, I imagine. Appreciate that. And then we had a comment about 𝗬𝗓𝗪𝗧𝗬𝗓 being a key player. And Matt, this is where I get a bit, I get a bit down about it, because it is key players that we're going to be missing. And me and you did the season when we did the fixtures, right? And we looked at the fixtures, and the first thing that stood out was fucking August is tough, September's tough, and now we've probably lost these players for that period of time, ultimately where the season's going to be at its toughest, right at the start with the biggest fixtures.
Absolutely. And I mean, as you rightly said, like, if these players are out for 2, 3, 4 weeks at the start of the season, yes, it's not as bad as it could be, like in months. But one thing that I'm always key that we to make our season go well and have a good push is that we need to have a strong start, and we don't seem to have that. And I always compare Coventry from last season. They done exactly what they did the season before. They lost in the playoffs, and they kept most of their team to an extent and built on, but they went out of the blocks so quick, and that was what I was hoping that we would be able to do this year. But I don't think that's going to be able to be done by the fact that we've now got these, as you say, these key players that are now on the sidelines for a few weeks. Hence why I'm a little bit sort of like in the doldrums a little bit at the start of the season. But saying that, it is a 46 game season, and you know, Ipswich came up through the league at some point during. I think they sort of like clicked into second gear, funny enough, after they played us, I think, on Boxing Day. But still, it just would be nice for us to sort of like set our stall out early, show that we are going to be just as good as we were last year this year. But we can't do that when we've got, I say, really key players out. And as you said, Callum, I totally agree. Like, you know, we look at our lineup now and it is still strong. I look at a few players on our bench that potentially could be on there that would probably be on the cusp of still being strong. But then I worry about, well, what happens if someone gets a sending off or injury on Saturday, and then obviously we're going to have game, like we've got quite a heavy schedule fixture list coming up, especially like now we've got to go to Cambridge. All right, that might be a totally different team, but still going to be intense. And the competition that we're playing against, the opposition we're playing, they are going to be up there in the mix this season. So, you know, I was keen to hopefully we can get out and I'll say out the traps early, but we need that with the best 11 that we can possibly get. So yeah, it's just that's why I feel a little bit in the grumps really about the start. Well, not as confident at the start of the season, but again, things can happen. We always are quite a second half season type team, and you know, let's just hope we can wait for this transfer window to be finished. If the players are in, great. Let's just kick on, but make sure that we get them absolutely up to fit and up to match fitness as well, more importantly.
Yeah, agree. And as Louise says just there, with that comment that was up on the screen, that, you know, the season's not won and lost in August, which is great. Great for us. It wasn't last August, it wasn't last September, and it won't be again. But Harry, I mean, injuries aside, right, we haven't just got to worry about bringing players in to accommodate the injuries that we may or may not have, and to send the players out because we're at capacity to bring players in for what we need. We've also got to worry about teams coming in for our own players, right? There's more speculation this week. 𝗕𝗜𝗧𝗬𝗓, his name has popped up a fair few times amongst reporters linking him with Hull City and European clubs. What's your thoughts on that then? Because as we've said, we're not going to replace players in the transfer window just because they're injured, right? If they're not, unless they're like Lucas Jensen, where they're out for the year, you're not going to replace them because they're going to be back fairly quickly. Other than Kramer, what do you think we need to do in the window? And is he impact what we do a lot? I mean, I suppose the easy answer is yes, but
yeah, no, exactly. I mean, well, like you mentioned, we're at capacity in terms of players that we can register over the age of 21. So, in order to bring in someone of experience and of championship quality, we're going to have to move Aziz on. It just annoys me that the fact that we probably all knew after the Hull defeat that Aziz was probably going to move on, and it's now, you know, 2 days before the season starts and Aziz is still with us. Just feels a bit like when 𝗟𝗓𝗓 left last season. You know, we all sort of, with that 1.2 million, I know we didn't go for that in the end, but with that release clause, you just felt that 𝗟𝗓𝗓 was leaving that summer, and it's just, you know, he started the Norwich game, and then I think he started the Borough game, and then he left. It's just more, can we just get him out? If he is going, let's get it done as soon as possible, so then we can, you know, work on our plans and who we're going to bring in, what we need to do. And, you know, it'll be typical Millwall. It won't get done to the back end of August, and then we'll be, you know, chasing clubs left, right and centre to find out availability, etc. I mean, obviously, look, in an ideal world, you keep Aziz, but the reality of it is if a club comes in for 25 million, you'd be silly to turn that money away, despite how good Aziz has been for Millwall. The money, what we can use with that is going to obviously improve our squad loads. I mean, he's the only one I expect to go out in terms of first-team players. I'm hoping for a few loans for some of the younger lads, but yeah, I guess it's now we're waiting, aren't we? Just waiting for that Aziz deal to go through, and if it does go through, you know, obviously if we get to the end of August and he's not gone, then brilliant. But in my opinion, and I'm sure others will agree, we're probably 2 or 3 players still from having a very, very good squad, and we need that Aziz money to sort of build on top of that.
All right, so I'll just throw this out to the room then with, you know, a bit of a free-for-all now. Aziz goes, let's hypothetically say Aziz is gone. What do we do with it? What do we do with the money? Where do we go? What positions are we looking at? What's your Steve Gallen? You've got let's call it 20 million, right? You've got £20 million for 𝗕𝗜𝗧𝗬𝗓. What are we doing with it?
Well, we all know who Harry would go for, but
Go on,
I
Harry,
mean,
say it, do it. Bingo card. Who are you bringing back?
I just think that Lisby's a young lad and he needs some support. So we need to go get an experienced left winger in. And I think there's a former man called 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗬𝗓 that I think he hasn't got a club at the moment. And I think he'd be so good. I remember that goal he scored at Luton in the 5th round of the FA Cup when they were in like the National League. I just think he's an amazing player.
Jordan, you've
I've been waiting for the last half an hour to say that.
he has. It's on the bingo card, isn't it? It's on the bingo card. It's been ticked off. But look, guys, we got the chat as well. We got £20 million. Let hypothetical £20 million as he's still a Millwall player. But say we've got £20 million. What are we doing with it? Where's it going? Who are we bringing in? How do we complete our squad to make you happy going into the season?
I would go 2 wingers, a right back, and a new goalkeeper.
Okay.
Yeah, because do you know what? I don't know, because I mean, we can debate this. We can debate this now, but I don't know if we have the time. But for me, I still have my concerns with
I love that from Connor,
and
by the way. Swap 𝗬𝗓𝗪 and 15 million for Aziz. I'd absolutely bite your hand off that.
Yeah, 100%.
And do you know what? That I'm actually going to steal that from Connor. I apologise. That's exactly what I'm doing. I want a player, right? I want a player. If it's Brighton, I want 15 million and 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗬𝗓. If it's Hull, I want 𝗬𝗓𝗪, 15 million. If it, or I want to go and get Cleary straight away. We've got to have a plan. Gallen said at the fans forum, I've got a plan for if 𝗕𝗏 is here or he's not. So we've got 20 million quid. I'm bringing in, hypothetically, if it goes to Hull, I'm trying to get 𝗬𝗓𝗪, but I do think that 𝗬𝗓𝗪 and Aziz would be a problem. So I don't think that would happen. But I'm definitely going to get a winger. I'm definitely going to get a starting winger on that right-hand side. And I'm definitely going to get a versatile winger who could probably play both flanks and maybe operate in the 10 as well. Looking at someone like, let's just throw a name out there, maybe a 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗧𝗬𝗓 of Southampton, someone who's been about, can fill multiple roles, may not get in over a Lisby, may not get in over a Cleary, but someone who could impact the game, right? Someone who's got this level locked down. What do you think, Jordan? Where are you going with it? £20 million in your pocket and a void at right wing and other positions. Where's it going?
I'm trying to put my sort of football head on and try and think about it from a club management perspective as well. I would certainly ring fence a bit of that money and invest it elsewhere in the club, away from players. I know that's not a sexy answer because we all want to see
some back in JB's pocket as a thank you sort of thing. 10 million back in the squad, 10 million back in his pocket.
Maybe not even in JB's back pocket, but I'm thinking more upgrading the facilities, the stadium, or something along those lines, really. Because it's such a substantial amount of money. Whilst players come and go, and of course you can invest and hopefully they'll reap the dividends, it's also good to try and get some money invested in the club when it comes along, because it's very rare that you get such a large sum of capital injected unless it's a big player sale. So I'd probably ring fence, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 million pounds into the club for upgrades or improvements to facilities, or even around the stadium itself. And then I'll be looking certainly at getting someone on the right wing. I think that is the most important position, just a replacement for Aziz. Now, there's no players in particular that spring to my mind, but I definitely think there's players who can at least parallel 𝗕𝗏 Aziz's quality, at least to some extent, even if it's not a super sexy signing, not even if it's a young European talent who's 19, 20 and going to set the world alight. I just want to see someone who can come in and make an impact fairly quickly and really give the output that 𝗕𝗏 Aziz gave us last season. And of course, alongside that as well, there's other areas that spring to mind. I would like to see more depth at right back besides Sykes and Leonard whilst Crammer's out. And I know we've been linked to a couple of players, whether it's a loan or permanent. But nevertheless, I think right wing is probably the most fundamental position for us to really get off to a flyer this season.
I'll tell you what I'm most concerned about, though, boys, and just anyone jump in at this point. I'm low, and a few of the people in the chat have said it. Oxan said it a fair few times. I'm concerned about left back. I'm concerned about left back because 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘 was kind of the chain reaction of now us needing a left back, right? Because he was that winger to mould Lisby a little bit until Lisby took the reins, and then he was going to be that cover, I imagine, cover for left back, cover for left wing. You now got 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘 as the sole left back. 𝗍𝗓𝗪𝗓 departed the club, who was admirable at left back. You got Ryan Leonard throughout the pre-season playing left back, right outside of the right boot. It just 𝗍𝗓𝗪𝗓 seemed to look like...
You can't do that in pre-season.
Exactly. So, look, again, just throwing it to the room. I think two wingers and a left back. I'm quite content with right back, but I am really concerned at left back because if Sturridge goes down, what have you got? Because if Sturridge, this is the chain reaction, right? Sturridge gets injured. At the moment, you've got 𝗬𝗓𝗪𝗓 injured. You've got 𝗬𝗓𝗪𝗓 is the out-and-out left winger. 𝗕𝗦𝗧𝗎 is the out-and-out right winger. There is no out-and-out other winger in the squad, right? RBW's not a winger. 𝗕𝗟𝗓's not a winger. Yeah, 𝗓𝗏𝗡 is a bit of a hybrid. You could argue 𝗓𝗏𝗡 is that cover for right wing, but he's also now the primary right back because Lenny is now the primary backup to right back and left back because 𝗓𝗏𝗡 is now the cover to right wing as well as playing right back. And it's like 𝗕𝗟𝗓's now going to be the cover to left wing, which he played at the weekend against QPR, who's also the primary feature in the 10, who's also being backed up by... Can you see where I'm going? It sounds really, really stupid, but
there's not a lot of players doing a lot of covering everywhere.
Exactly that. And it's like, and there was a comment just up there, and it was at the fans forum. Gallen startled everybody by saying 𝗟𝗏𝗪𝗓 can play left back. I mean, who are we to say he can't? Because he's obviously scouted him. That's why he signed him. And people might say, he's too big to play left back, but then we've got a 6'4" centre half playing right back who looks like the best right back in the division. So I won't, not here to pass judgment on that. Maybe he can, but I just feel like the dynamics you lose for someone that big, I apparently can't see it. But does it concern you boys as much as that's concerning me, left back and others? A lot of people have mentioned it.
No,
and
I agree with you, Jay. I think, we saw it a few times last season. Sturridge was obviously amazing last year, one of top 5 players in the team, but he also did have his off days every now and again, which every player does. You can't play 8 out of 10, 46 games a season. So if Doherty's injured or something like that, like you said, who do you play left back? I mean, my personal opinion, I'd go do what we did. Obviously, I know it didn't work out, but a loanee from left back. Obviously, 𝗕𝗥𝗓𝗏 was the last one to come in on loan. Obviously, it didn't work out with the injuries, but I'd go get a loanee from the Premiership as backup. Can learn off Sturridge, can learn off 𝗬𝗓𝗪𝗓 when he's fit, and it obviously doesn't take up a squad place because he'll be under 21. So that'd be my bit. Maybe like a bit like Sturridge, where he comes in on loan, and then if there is the option to buy him the season, if he's a very good left back, then why not? But that's what I would do. But I agree, you can't be having right-footed left backs. You can do it on the wing because you can cut in and it makes it, but it gives more dynamic. But at fullback, you've got to be, your best foot's got to be on the side you're playing on.
Absolutely, totally agree there. I mean, to be fair, Jay, you say going back to that question, where would you invest? I wrote down 3 positions: right back, left back, 10. They were the 3 that I put down to say where do we reinvest our money. Oh yeah, I just someone who can. I'm still up for that feeding of the ball. I just maybe like a backup for 𝗕𝗟𝗓 because I just think that's what I was looking like. 𝗕𝗟𝗓 can do everything. I'm a big fan of him. There's no.
I actually don't think we should play at 10 at all. I actually hate a 10.
Well, I'm just going based on. No, I firmly agree. But I'm just going on the basis of what the tactics that we play are. So I would have someone just to give, as I say, similar to what the rest of the group is saying. Like, we brought in Dykes to give Coburn 5-minute rest. Like, I'd say we'd get a backup 10, a decent backup 10 to give 𝗕𝗟𝗓 a rest because at the end of the day, he's absolutely phenomenal, but he's going to burn. It's just no question about it. So I would like sort of like a £3 or £4 million, or like sort of a few million, maybe on the lower leagues that's got potential, similar to like a Metcalf, bring him up, but obviously realise that he's going to be sort of playing not almost second fiddle to 𝗕𝗟𝗓, but be the next person behind 𝗕𝗟𝗓. But the left back for me was where we need to, both fullbacks personally, I would say, would be the areas that are a big concern, especially on that left side now that obviously 𝗬𝗓𝗪𝗓's out for a period of time. Yeah, as I say, 𝗟𝗏𝗪𝗓, we'll have the tallest back 4, I think, in the league at this rate if Sturridge goes down injured. But yeah, I just think the fullbacks and the 10 would be me. I wouldn't even worry about. I actually wouldn't worry about right wing. I really wouldn't. With what we've got.
Right wing, I'm content with if 𝗕𝗦𝗧𝗎 stays, but we're talking about you've got a £20 million kitty, right, Callum? You've got a £20 million kitty. 𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗎's gone. You've got Mark Sykes playing right wing, also covering right back because Lenny's covering left back, who's also got Lisby in front of him with 𝗕𝗟𝗓𝗪, who's meant to be covering him, and 𝗬𝗓𝗪𝗓 is injured, and Luke Cundall's just sort of running around going, what do you want me to do at this point? Because everybody's sort of covering everywhere. I think we'll be better served in the team if we play a 6 and 2 8s. I don't believe the 10 is good for us. I prefer a 6 with 2 8s. I think Gnägliä is much better deeper, picking them balls up in them pockets, allowing to drift, allowing to get into the space. He's very good at getting back. He's got energy. He wins the ball as well. Him and sort of 𝗬𝗧𝗧 side by side as 2 8s, just when one goes, one sit, like a old school Petite Vieira partnership. You know, it was that one went, one sat, the other one went, the other one sat, and just have sort of 𝗂𝗓𝗏 or Gnägliä 𝗂𝗓𝗏 or 𝗓𝗏 just sit there. I think we'll be better served to the players that we have to do that because of 𝗬𝗧𝗧's versatility, where he can fill in that left pocket, right? He can play in that left sort of wing back role. Gnägliä can drift out on that right hand side. 𝗂𝗓𝗏 or 𝗓𝗏 can step up. You make yourself better defensively and better in attack. But I disagree in the sense that we needed 10. I think we've got 10s, especially when 𝗬𝗧𝗧 is back. 𝗬𝗧𝗧, Gnägliä and Cundall can play 10. If Cundall's playing, we've probably got a bigger issue. I do believe wingers, and if we're talking we've got a £20 million kitty, Harry, and Aziz is gone, I think you need to bring in 2 wingers. You got 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, bearing in mind. 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, when we interviewed Luis of the Rodden fan club, said he could play out wide as well. So there is an interesting pivot there, maybe a 4-3-3.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play. I just can't see Alex Neil playing a 4-3-3, even though that I love the idea and I would prefer it to a 4-2-3-1.
As Robbo says.
But I just can't see Alex Neil playing. He likes to have a 10 sitting behind Coburn to get past him and to help him. But I love the 3 midfield with Derek sitting, and then 𝗬𝗧𝗧 and Gnägliä in them 8 positions. I love that, and then you have 𝗬𝗧𝗧 and 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 or Aziz if he stays on the wings would be great. But yeah, I think again left backs, like you boys have just said, that it's pivotal that we get and the second left back. And yeah, I don't know. We're still early doors though, aren't we? I mean, we've still got a couple of weeks left of the window, but like Harry said earlier, it is getting to that stage now where Aziz has to go as soon as possible for us to get in replacement for him. But it all depends on the money at the minute, doesn't it? With Hull coming in for 15, I think, or I don't think they put an actual bid in yet, but it's been rumoured to be 15 at the minute, hasn't it? So we'll see.
I think one of the big areas that we need to be careful of this season, obviously, if there is a large injection of money, clubs are going to know that. And if we come sniffing around one of their players, they will be looking for that slight premium, knowing that we have a bit of money. So I think we really need to be careful about potentially the risk from that. And I know that's much more tactical rather than actually talking about particular players. But I think that is one thing we're going to have to be really careful of. And we need to be a lot more precise and ruthless in our transfer strategy. Because if a club starts asking for crazy amounts of money compared to the actual valuation that Mill will deem, then I think we really need to buck up our ideas in that case, should we get a large injection of money from potentially selling the likes of Aziz.
Yeah, no, I think, can I just jump in here and say, I think with our attack, the way we've got it right now probably is perfect set for kind of how we want it for home and away. I think with the front three of 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, Lisby and Aziz, the way it is right now, I think especially looking at pre-season games and the way it works and towards the last end of that QPR game, we are frightening in that counter side because all 3 of them are pacey, all of them want to get in behind, and they can all run with the ball. And especially 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, he's an absolute beast. He's an absolute unit. But then on the flip side of that, if you put Gnägliä out on that left rather than Lisby, and you play Coburn up front, you are perfectly set again to play that away from home without the ball, trying to get it wider and get it into the box to the likes of Coburn. And I think you have probably, and again, the 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 and Dykes and those type of players, you are probably set for either a counter-attacking football or a position base where you're going to get it wider and try and play off the set pieces and hit it in. And to be fair, I think home and away, that's the best way to go. And obviously, you look at the likes of Bristol, it's always going to be a hard game. They are a good side. And I think, obviously, looking into that Bristol game, I think it's probably a spanner in Neil's mind of, do we play an attacking, fast pace, try and get them on a counter, like we did, obviously, in the sense of last year when we got them on the counter? Or do you go with what you know and you play Coburn up front and you try and pick it off, and you don't play the prettiest of football or the exciting type of football, but, you go there and you're trying to get a draw or a point or a win through?
Yeah, I agree. And you mentioned Bristol there. Let's move on to Bristol then, because we do play Bristol Saturday. It's our opening game of the season. We had, good fortunes there last year. A fantastic 1-0 away win where we had, 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘 playing in the midfield. You had Dan Kelly playing in midfield. Ivanovic got a goal. RBW setting him up. We so many problems there. Kicked off as well. You got Dave Livermore getting people in headlocks, and great day out last year. I'm expecting it to be a lot different this year. I'm expecting us to be a bit of the wounded animal and Bristol to come out firing. They've had a great window, an exceptional window. They bought the 2 top strikers in League One. They're rumoured to be interested in 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗧𝗨𝗕. That 1 minute it was done, the next minute it was not. You know what rumours are like. We've been guilty of that ourselves from jumping too early. So I'm expecting a really, really tough fixture, boys. I mean, look, I want to get through this fairly quickly to get onto our predicted 11s. But what worries you about Bristol City? I'll come to you first, Matt. What worries you about Bristol City?
Right. Well, to be honest, and I'll be really blunt, I think it's going to be a bit of a shock for both Ballard and 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘. I was doing a bit of research just to figure out what sort of goals they scored for their respective club last year. And funny enough, with all the goals that Ballard scored, he only scored 3 against the top teams 3 against the teams that came up. Now, bearing in mind that he's now going to be playing against a better set of defenders in the Championship, can he step up? So it's an unknown entity, Ballard. And I'm not sort of like ruling out his qualities of being a striker, but would he have to get used to sort of like Championship football? Will he have to get used to Championship defenders? Because as I said, most of his goals last year came with teams mid-league, lower half of League One. And it's the same with 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘 as well. Like, he only bagged sort of 5 goals against the top 10 teams or top 9 teams, because he was playing for one of that top 10 teams. So part of me thinks, do you know what? Yes, on paper, great signings, and they will do well, granted. I think we've got them early, which is a good thing. I think also, finally, with the manager of 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘, he played a very defensive mind style of play last year for Lincoln, and that's how Lincoln got promoted, was because they were hard to break down. So maybe potentially that's it. It smells like there's absolute abundance of potential out there on Saturday, but it could be a 0-0 draw.
I'll take that.
Selling it well, Matt.
Yeah.
Enjoy your trip.
I mean, it's going to be a tight game. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game Saturday. I think that it'll be a bit scrappy. I mean, with the signings, we've already mentioned a couple of them, but they have made some good signings. But I think we've made some positive signings as well. But obviously they're not. They're injured at the moment, so it would have been a different story if they were starting. But I do believe that we've got a result there before. And we always believe in 𝗟𝗪𝗪𝗘 as the manager, so I can't see us. I think it's gonna be a tight game. I think it'll either be a draw or we just might nick it.
It's normally tight, right?
Getting a result.
It's normally tight. And
yeah, of course.
Harry, Matt made a good point there about the step up for the 2 strikers. Probably isn't. It's probably not a worse centre half pairing for them 2 to go up against than Caleb Taylor and Jake Cooper, right? That's going to be sink or swim for them, right?
Yeah, it will literally be first 5 minutes. They're probably going to run into Coops and they get bounced off, and that'll be sort of welcome to the Championship. Yeah, I think like Max said, it is a step up. We see players come up from League One and they do it like ducks on water, and they score 25 goals and it's really easy. And then you see others that you sign from League One, they never really crack it, and they're back down in League One, League Two in the following season. And like Matt said, I think we've caught them early. Knowing that now, they'll probably both go and score on Saturday. Make this podcast look really bad. Yeah, I mean, in terms of signings only as good as piece of paper until you see them live, and they're 10, 15 games in. How many times have we signed a player for a bit of money and it's not worked out? Same way, how many times have we bought a free transfer and they've been brilliant? So yeah, it looks good on paper for Bristol City, and I'm sure Saturday's game will be tough. It always is, first game of the season, because neither team knows what to expect from each other. Yeah, hopefully we can take it to them, because I think last year, especially the away game, and maybe more the home game actually, but because we were so up for it in that home game on the back of what happened in the away game, we were physical, we were in their face, and I think if we do that again on Saturday, I don't see why we can't beat them. As we've mentioned, a lot of our signers are already injured, so it's going to be a similar kind of team we probably put out on that home game against them, if not a bit slightly better. And so we just got to go for them. I think first 15 minutes, weather the storm, because I think
they're going to come at us. They're going to come out. They're a good footballing side.
Yeah, and I think it's also on us as fans, first 15 minutes, if we can't get out our own box, let's not be jumping down the players' throats, calling them this, calling them that. Let's realise that actually it's their home game. They're full of optimism based on what they've done this summer. we are going to maybe have to soak up a bit of pressure. But what we've got to do, and like Callum mentioned with the front three, if we do go across Aziz and Lisbeth, we've got that outlet of pace. And if we need to, we can catch them on the counter-attack. We did it so many times last season. And yeah, we've got a half-decent record there. I remember when we lost 4-3 back in August a couple of years ago. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm confident, but, you know, there's worse starts to the season we can have.
Yeah, I agree. Jordan, what's your thoughts? I mean, it's a tough start, but there's a lot of unpredictability. There's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of what they may or may not have, or the quality they may or may not have. New manager. There's probably a lot more tape for them to study on Millwall than there is for us on them, that's for sure, which gives them the potential advantage in some sense in terms of how we play. It's a little bit unknown, but Alex Neil was shown that we could stick Max Crocombe in centre midfield and we would find a way to get a result away from home. It is our bread and butter, the best away team in the Championship last year. That alone gives me confidence going into Saturday.
Yeah, I think, look, it's always tough when you're in that weird limbo between pre-season and that first game of the season. There's nerves, the kaleidoscope is in a bit of a state of flux, and as soon as that whistle's blown at 3 p.m. on Saturday, the pieces will settle and we'll get to see how the club actually plays this season, or at least to begin with. And look, Bristol have made some impressive signings. So have we. I look at Michael 𝗟𝗜𝗨𝗧𝗨𝗕, I believe is how you pronounce Bristol manager's
like him.
name. Yeah. I think I'll be fascinated to see the tactical battle between him and Neil. And I think that is where the game is going to be won and lost, is in that tactical and managerial battle. Because on paper, I think both teams have recruited well and there's quality throughout and will be present on that pitch. But I think it's going to be down to those managerial decisions, those 70th minute substitutions, that I think will really, really be able to turn the game. And we all, as has been said, I have a lot of faith in Alex Neil. I think he's the best. He's certainly the best Millwall manager I've seen in my lifetime. And especially when it comes to his substitutions as well. The man knows his stuff when it comes to those last 20-minute substitutions, who's right to put on to pick up this player or push on into these spaces. So I have a lot of faith in Alex Neil, and I think it will be a fascinating game. And of course, we're also going to see a familiar face as well in Jed Wallace, who was picked up by Bristol City. But nevertheless, I think it'll be a fascinating game to watch. I think there'll be good football from both sides. And I think ultimately it'll be a good game for both Bristol and Millwall, and hopefully it'll be an enjoyable one for us.
I agree. I think it'd be a good advert for the Championship. That's certain. And am I right in saying, someone correct me, I think I'm right, but I don't think 𝗟𝗜𝗨𝗧𝗨𝗕 in his entire career of management, every single year he's managed, he's always made the playoffs. And I saw it somewhere. I'm not sure if it's someone get in the comments, let me know if it's accurate. But apparently he's never not made the playoffs. So that might be completely
But he's never managed
incorrect.
in the Championship.
He's never managed the Championship. Yeah, I mean, it might be completely incorrect, but I'm sure I saw it and I thought, wow, if that is the case, then that is seriously impressive.
I've never been relegated.
Yes, yeah, but there is that. And so let's move on then. Let's get stuck into then what we think, how we can get a result at the weekend. And let's look at our starting 11, and we'll get the chat involved in this as well, because we're going to do our starting 11 live. We're going to put it up on screen. Thank you, Dan. And we're going to populate this. I presume we're going to go with a 4-2-3-1, right, guys? And what we'll do is we'll name out the position. We'll put the player in there that we all think, and if there is a discrepancy, if we don't all agree, we'll have a little chat about it. But I want the chat to get involved. I'll kick us off then. So I'll go with goalkeeper. We'll start with goalkeeper. Chat, get your goalkeeper opinions in. Who starts in goal? I'm gonna say it's and anyone coming after me, I want this to be a bit of a free for all. I'm gonna say Lucas Jensen starts in goal on Saturday.
Yeah, I think he'll be number one until something happens.
It's to lose, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go too into it, but I'm still a little. There's something in me. I don't know. I can't tell you what, but there's something still in me that I don't trust in him.
So are you? Do you disagree? You putting Crocombe in or
no? I'd have him, like Harry said. I'd have him in until he makes it. But I feel like he's just got a mistake in him. We see it when he played. Obviously, he was out last season, but the season before that, he made a couple of mistakes. Now, could he come back and change the way he's played? Probably, potentially. But I mean, from what I've seen so far in a Millwall shirt, I mean, take back QPR, he did really well. And as you said rightly, he was man of the match. But there's something still in me that he's got a mistake in him. But I will still go for him until he makes a mistake.
That was his acid
Any
test was the QPR game, in my opinion. So I think he
thought it was
passed
great.
with flying colours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
I thought it
passed
was
it with
great.
flying colours, yeah.
Yeah.
Robbo's gone all the way and he's told us his complete team, so that's great. Well done. Cheers, Robbo, mate. Appreciate you. Right, I'll go around the room then from where I can see it. Harry, take us away with right back then. What you got for right back?
So I've gone Sykes, and the reason I've gone Sykes is I personally believe Leonard's a very good right back, but I think with injuries we've got in the team, you may need to deploy him elsewhere 60th, 75th minute in the team, where Sykes can only play on that right or right wing side. And I just think if you've got someone like Lenny to bring on who can play 3, 4, 5, 6 position, I think it's best to start with Sykes. Obviously against his former team as well. Hopefully he'll be up for it. So yeah, I've gone with Sykes for right back.
I agree. I'm going to go with Sykes as well. Any disagreements on Sykes? Chat, who you got in at right back? I do agree in the points that you make as well that, you know, with Doughty being out now, you kind of do need Leonard to sit back and be that cover just in case. So yeah, I'm going to go with Sykes. Any disagreements from the panel or the chat?
I disagree. I disagree. I think for me it has to be Leonard. For me, I think he's more of the defensive all rounder. And to be fair to him, he hasn't really put a foot wrong in pre-season. I think that first half of Bromley, he was really good. And I think just Lenny gives you that more. I think he's better in the air. I think he's strong. When he is like fit, he's fit and he does play well. It's just obviously with Lendog, you know, you obviously have that fear of him picking up an injury from catching a cold or anything. So, but with Lenny, I think he's done enough and he's proved himself time and time again when he has stepped up to deserve to start. I don't think he should be. But for me, Sykes hasn't impressed me at all at any game he's played so far in the pre-season. So
that's interesting. Do you agree, Matt? I mean, we've got me and Harry for Sykes. Callum, you went Sykes as well, didn't you?
No, I'm going for Leonard, mate.
You're going for this. So Matt, it's on you then, mate. If you agree with Leonard, then we will change it to Ryan Leonard. As a few people are saying Leonard, Robbo's back in there saying Leonard better defensively. Maybe Bristol go with 4-4-2. You'll probably want Leonard because he'll be having to sit a bit deeper. Mark says 60 minutes only, Lenny. What do you think?
Well, I think Mark's spot on. I think 60 minutes for Leonard. I think at the end of the day, if Bristol were coming out with gung-ho, tails up, ready to go at us, we need someone with a bit more of a defensive mindset. I like Sykes. Remember, it's going to be against his former club, so maybe his emotions might be a bit different to a normal game. But I do like Sykes right back. But now thinking on it, if you give me 60 minutes of Leonard with that, then I'd rather go that way and just absorb the pressure. You know, the old cliche, quiet the crowd down, let him get a bit frustrated. And then if we do try and go, then we'll put an attacking-minded fullback on his Sykes.
Cool. I'm going to jump ahead here and I'm going to skip the next three because I think it's going to be universally agreed upon and there isn't going to be any debate whatsoever that 𝗟𝗓𝗄, Jake Cooper and Zach Sturge are going to make up the back four, right? It's not even a debate at this point, okay? Yeah. So we'll skip ahead and I'm sure the chat will agree unless someone's going to come in there. There is the one or two Cooper haters out there for I don't understand why, but there is one or two. But I think that's the universally agreed upon back four, right? I think this is where we could start getting a bit different going forward. I'll let Matt, you kick us off then. Who's going to be your central midfield pairing?
Well, they did really well against QPR, so I like to keep 𝗂𝗓𝗏 and Metcalfe as the two pairing. I think Metcalfe really has impressed me since he's been in a Millwall shirt. You know, he's a little terrier in that middle, like winning the balls. You know, he's not afraid to put a foot in cleanly. But he will give the opportunity of breaking that play up and allowing 𝗂𝗓𝗏 to be 𝗂𝗓𝗏, as we all know how quality is. So my pairing is actually 𝗂𝗓𝗏 and Metcalfe.
Any disagreements on 𝗂𝗓𝗏 and Metcalfe? Chat, what do you think? 𝗂𝗓𝗏 and Metcalfe? It's got to be, isn't it?
Yeah, best available.
I think if 𝗟𝗏𝗪 was fit, there's an argument there. But yeah, definitely based off of, you know, with QPR, I think 𝗂𝗓𝗏 probably wasn't even at his best that obviously wasn't against QPR, and he still had an alright game. And Metcalf obviously has pretty much got a point to prove to try and stay in this team, similar to 𝗟𝗓𝗓 when he came in against QPR last season. I think he's done everything right. He has done so far, and he's justified to stay in the team.
Yeah, and I think it wasn't that 𝗂𝗓𝗓 played badly. I think that he just didn't understand Jensen Metcalf, right? I think there was a bit of an understanding from their positional outlook. It seemed to be that Metcalf is going to be the one that drives forward. He's going to be the one that puts the initial press. 𝗂𝗓𝗓's going to be the one that sits deeper. I imagine that would be the same if 𝗟𝗓𝗓 played right. But if 𝗟𝗓𝗓 plays, I think we alter the formation personally. But I do think that's the universally agreed upon. What other central midfielders are available though? As Robbo asked, I mean, you got Kelly. Kelly could drop in there. 𝗟𝗓𝗓 may be back, or maybe back the week after. I know he's only out for like a week or two. What other central midfielders do we have available?
Well, that's why I went side right back, because I thought, well, if 𝗓𝗓𝗓 or Metcalf we need to bring off, you've got Lenny on the bench to drop in that centre mid. Obviously, we signed him as a midfielder.
Yes,
I
good
know
point.
he's not played much, but that's why obviously I went side. Because I'm fully happy with Leonard playing right back. I think he probably is much better defensively. But that was my issue, is that if 𝗓𝗓𝗓 or Metcalf need a breather, there's not many centre midfielders on the bench. And I don't mind Dan Kelly, but I'd much rather have someone like Lenny dropping into midfield instead.
Yeah, and I think you've got Negley's dropped in there at times. You don't want to take him away from his best position. You've got 𝗏𝗏𝗓 could do it. RBW has done it. But I do think, as it stands right now, it's got to be probably Metcalf and 𝗓𝗓𝗓, right? They're going to try and stretch us, Bristol City. They tend to do that every time we play them. They try and stretch us. They try and pin us back with their passing on the edge. And I think Metcalf's tenacity, 𝗓𝗓𝗓's sort of savvy brain will probably be best suited for that. Let's move on to the 10 then. I'll come to you, Cal. What's your 10? This has got to be universal, I imagine. But chat, get in there. What's your number 10 pick? Are you thinking about it, honestly?
Well, because I'm thinking of what Alex Neil will do, but for me, I would put Negley in the 10.
Alex Neil will
personally.
Well.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about 𝗏𝗏𝗓 though, because obviously he played him on Saturday against QPR, but 𝗏𝗏𝗓 played absolutely awful. So he was awful.
Do you think he was awful? I mean, chat, do you think he was awful? I don't think he was awful. I didn't think.
Yeah, but did he do much though?
I think I think he struggled with the fact that Negley's not a left winger and was cutting in inadvertently, and Aziz was completely bottled, 2 men up on that side, and Jensen Metcalf and 𝗂𝗓𝗓 𝗓𝗓𝗓 were chasing ghosts for most of that first half. I thought it was difficult for 𝗏𝗏𝗓 to get into the game, to be honest with you. I don't necessarily think he was a terrible player in the game. I just don't think he got on the ball. But the chat agree. Any
yeah, I'll go
I
Negley.
mean,
yeah.
No, I think it has to. I think it has to be Negley. But going back to what Cal said about 𝗏𝗏𝗓, you're obviously, from me being there in the stadium, I think there was a period in that game where the 𝗬𝗓𝗧𝗨𝗕𝗘 was pretty much just walking around 𝗏𝗏𝗓, and 𝗏𝗏𝗓 didn't even want to chase him. He just stood there, and they were popping it around him. He was lazy, and then they were making off the ball runs, and he's still looking at someone that's not even got the ball. Defensively, he was poor. Like you said, I think going forward, he has moments. Like, for example, he's in the right place a lot. But in terms of actual influence on the attacking phases, he actually kills us more than anything else. There was one break in the second half where he got played through, I think it was their corner. It got cleared to him. He ran down the right wing, could have kept going, and just turned completely back and switched the play. And it's just like, you had runners on part of you. He is just he's so secured with the ball. He wants to keep it rather than take those risks that could have got us an extra 1 or 2. But he didn't have a terrible game, but 𝗏𝗏𝗓𝗏's kind of the epitome of someone. He comes in, he kind of does a job to a satisfactory level, but he's not someone that you want starting.
No, fair enough. Yeah, I think it's universally agreed that Negley will be the 10. Let's go with the wingers then. Jordan, right wing and left wing. What you got?
So I've got Aziz, so long as he is still available for the game.
Interested to see if he is available. That's for sure.
That's the big thing. And if not Aziz, then probably 𝗏𝗏𝗓𝗏. And then I've got 𝗬𝗢𝗓𝗓 on the left. I know obviously he's still fairly new, but from what I've seen of him thus far, I think he's both. Well, you can imagine 𝗬𝗢𝗓𝗓 and Aziz, or 𝗬𝗢𝗓𝗓 and 𝗏𝗏𝗓𝗏. That's a lot of pace and power down the wings.
I agree.
And who I've got up top would certainly benefit from some pacey players getting in behind. So that's my reasoning for 𝗬𝗓/Alex and Lisby.
I don't think Aziz travels Saturday.
That's a statement, and
Putting it out there.
It's
I just
also
think,
an opinion.
Listen, I mean, people probably disagree, but for me, with this rumours from Hull, etc., I hope he does go. But I just think with this rumour, with Hull, does Alex Neil bring him? Yeah, so I doubt he'd start for me. I think it'd be 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗘 and Lisby for me.
I think he starts personally. Sorry, go on, Jay.
No, go for it. You think 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗘 starts?
With me?
Yeah, is that where you was going?
Yeah, no. Well, we'll get on to that, but no, I go with Lisby, Aziz, and Nedgley. I think
agree.
Restart. I liked Aziz and Lisby against Bromley. I know it's only Bromley, but I thought there's just so much pace between them two that could really hurt defenders. I think Aziz plays. It's going to be a bit like Jaff. If he does end up going, it's going to be a bit like Jaff, where he just plays until we sort of something a bit more of confirmation has come out on social media. At the moment, it's just a couple of rumours floating around. I think Aziz will, they wouldn't have played him against QPR if there was a risk of, him getting injured because the sales almost clubbing through or something. I think he plays until, like it was with Jaffet, we sort of knew he was off before the Sheffield game kicked off. So there was never going to play. I expect him to start.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with what Mark's saying here. I think 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗘 does replace Aziz is not a 90-minute guy, right? Same as Zach Sturridge is not a 90-minute guy a lot of the time, which is what concerns me. So I do think it'll be Lisby on the left with 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗘 being the relief. I think we're universally.
Well, I'm going to put a spanner in if that's all right, Jay.
Go on.
I want to put a spanner in this. I actually will play 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗘 on the left, and the reason being is I look at that three, and the three that you've got behind the striker of 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗘, Nedgley, and Aziz. You've got an opportunity of 3 players to rotate the positions. And that can cause headaches for defensive teams. So you could, 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗘 can start on the left, drift into the middle, Nedgley can pull out wide, Aziz can go. You think about it, those 3 players that can rotate behind the striker, that gives any defensive team an absolute sodding headache. And I think what a great idea to do that. They get mentally tired and frustrated. Then you can, hook off either 𝗕𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 respectively or 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 and then put Lisby in there. 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 also provides that secondary striker option as well for Coburn. So me personally, I would actually have 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 on the left-hand side, but again, it's a majority there. And
I do like that. No, I do like that. And there is that element that if you want to go direct in the game, you can just move Nedgley out wide left and then stick 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 out front. And all of a sudden you're in a 4-4-2 and you've got Coburn with a bit of support around him without actually having to make any substitutions. So I do like that element of it. I do think it'd be, I will not be surprised if 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 starting on that left or that right-hand side, depending on the Aziz situation. So I do agree with all your points. It's an interesting take because Neil said that the new guys need a bit of nurture, right? They need to be weaned into the game. And I do think I agree with exactly what Robbo says under this comment here is that he could deal with the physicality. I think the physicality of the game will come very easily to him, and he's quick enough to get behind. So I would not be shocked, and I would not be surprised. What I don't think we'll be surprised about is the centre forward position. So I'll start off. I've gone with Lyndon Dykes. No, I haven't. I've gone with Josh Coburn, but I do expect Lyndon Dykes to play, and this will be a bold prediction, a massive role in this side this season because I think Coburn, you need to keep him fresh. He's the main man, right? And you will not have to change tactic if you bring Lyndon Dykes on. And Lyndon Dykes is a Bristol City away type of player. Do you know what I mean? In them games where you're probably going to be under it, stick him up there, mate. Get him to be an horrible bastard up front. Get him around the knockdowns. But no, I've gone with Coburn. Coburn's the main man. Coburn scored 9 goals in 28 appearances. I expect him to, if fully fit, with Dykes giving him that relief now and then in cup games and later on, I fully expect him to bag sort of 15. With 𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, Aziz, Nedgley or Lisby behind him, in my opinion, that's enough. sort of outlet to give him what he needs, and more when 𝗬𝗧𝗬 comes back. So I'm going with Coburn. I don't know if there'll be any advances on that. I'm expecting to see a few 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓 in there. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to go. I mean, I love Coburn. I think he's a very good striker. I just thought maybe the first half, if we're not able to get out as much, would it be worth putting 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓 up top and having that pace and that outlet? Obviously, he's still a very physical striker, so he can hold the ball up. It wouldn't be sort of pinging back in our own half. And obviously, if you've got someone like 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓, we saw it against Bromley, them three can just run for days and they're quick and lightning. And I thought maybe Coburn could come on in the second half or later on. But I'm also not against the idea of obviously having the trusted man in Coburn to start. I think obviously he showed last year, albeit a couple of injuries, done very well last year. And even when he did score at times, was actually very effective in the game. But I just like the idea of that sort of icon option where if we do want to go a bit more, sort of on the counter attack and pace in behind centre backs, get defenders turning, I think 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓 is a better option in that sense.
I agree. Any advances on that, guys? I mean, as a good Harry's laid it out pretty much perfectly there. You're not going to drop Coburn for a new signing. You're absolutely not, because he was the main man last season. Just needs a bit of support, and I think this team does that. Jordan, you're not.
Yeah, no. What I would say, from my point of view, I mean, we spoke last season about the style of play, home and away. Now, Coburn is the perfect player to put up front in an away game for me.
But as Mark says, 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 is made for the later part of an away game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's definitely right, Mark. Yeah, but another thing I would probably put out there is that, like Harry just said, I feel like 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 up front at home with 𝗬𝗓𝗧𝗬𝗓 on the wings would be a better option for us, probably at home, because I think we need to get out of the habit of playing the ball, long balls, because sometimes it doesn't work at home. I feel like we need to play a bit more of a different style of play at home where we can get at teams in a different sort of way rather than punting the ball up to Coburn. So yeah, for me, I'd probably put 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 in the bracket of home starter up front more than Coburn. But that's a big shout.
We had that last year, Jordan, right? In the terms of, it was kind of Ivanovic was the guy you played at home, Coburn's the guy you played away. Coburn eventually took the reins. Your thoughts on that? You was nodding away like you had really something to say there.
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to manage a player like Coburn and essentially rule him out of a match. And by that, I mean sticking close to him. We know the balls he's going to be trying to receive. They'll be up in the air or down to his feet, so he can try and use his strength in his body to try and lay it off to the likes of Aziz or perhaps 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓. So I'm thinking, if I'm the Lincoln City manager, I'd be thinking stick close to Coburn. It's a lot more difficult to manage and defend against a player who's pacey and strong and powerful. And I think what's been said previously about, a rotation just behind the centre forward, or also putting 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓 up top, it's just ways to add a bit of dynamism into our attacking setup. Because one thing I found, especially in the latter half of the season last year, was we were becoming a bit predictable. And I do think a few teams had started to suss out how we were playing with Coburn. And when you start to become predictable, especially in the Championship, it's a lot harder to reap the rewards of, the players' hard labour with that. So I think fundamentally we do need to look at trying to diversify how we press and how we transition, and ultimately how we go about really trying to threaten our opposition's back line.
Yeah, the whole City very much did exactly what you said there. They brought in Ajayi, the big centre-half, and they stuck 3 on him, and he was completely out of the game. And this is where it's perfect, as Robbo says. I think it's a perfect comment. You got Coburn, who's took the punches, took the kicks, been battered, bruised, shirts pulled over his head. Just when you think they're getting worn out, you bring on the same type of player who's fresher to try and shore it up. I think he's going to be so cool. This is great from Gary, not so great from Gary. He was listening from hospital bed. Hopefully everything went really, really well. Gary, our thoughts with you, mate, after your prostate up. I hope thoughts go out to you, mate. So no jokes, don't make me laugh. No worries, mate. There's no jokes here. We try not to, but we wish you all the best, mate, in your recovery there. Guys, I mean, looking at that team, let's start to wrap it up. I mean, looking at that team, ain't as bad as we think, right? We spent the start of the show a bit concerned with some players that we might be missing. I suppose the only concern there, Harry alluded to quite well, I think, articulated it well, was what's behind that starting 11. But that's a starting 11 that can go to Bristol and win.
100%.
Yep. Great.
Yep. Chat, get in the comments, what do you make of the starting 11? Because we're now going to move on to the final segment of the show, which is going to be our predictions. And get your predictions in there. Yeah, all the best for Gary. Let's get some well wishes for Gary in the chat, everyone. We do really wish Gary well. Keep us updated with your recovery, mate. We're keen to find out how you're getting on. But yeah, thank you, Robbo. Predictions then, guys, and chat predictions. I'll go around and I'll end it last. I'll come to you first, Jordan, just because of where you are sitting on my screen. What is, and not so much a gut reaction, but what do you generally think? What's your prediction going into Saturday, and who's your goal scorers, if you've got any?
I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be a score draw. I think Bristol will come out of the traps quickly, and I think we may be caught out by that to begin with. But one thing that we'll always do is we do end up finding a bit of a foothold in the game, and if we can capitalise on that, then I think we can pull one or two back at least. So I'm going to say a score draw, and I'm going to say Coburn and 𝗟𝗓𝗏 on the score sheet, maybe 2-2.
Like it. Matt, follow suit there then, mate.
Well, as I said, I think with management of 𝗟𝗏𝗨𝗧𝗨𝗕, and as I say, he's a very defensively astute manager with Lincoln. Bristol City totally is a different kettle of fish, really. But I think it's either going to be 0-0 or 1-1. And if it is 1-1, I think it's going to be 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗏.
𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓 to score. And Robbo agrees on one of the goal scorers, not so much the result. He says 2-1 Millwall. Harry, what you got, mate?
Yeah, well, I'm the same as Robbo. All week when you told me we was doing this show, we've been going 1-1, 1-1, because every other day you hear about injury. And it's just like, oh, have we actually got anyone available? We've just gone through the team and I've changed my mind. We've actually got a very strong team we're taking to Bristol. So I'm going 2-1. I think we'll start very slow, but what we'll do is we'll catch them on the counter and I think we'll score. I think Aziz will score the first one. I then think they'll then put the pressure on us and keep going and they'll eventually get one back. And then I fancy 𝗕𝗏𝗘 to score a last-minute winner or within the last 5 minutes of the game, and we'll come away from Bristol with a 2-1 win.
Do you know what? I'm excited by Harry's pick because he did pretty much the same when we went to Hull away. It was, we're going to take the lead. It's going to be, and you can go and watch it back. We're going to take the lead. It's going to be back against the wall, and then we're going to nick it. And we did exactly that. So take Harry's got a bit in the bank for predictions. So
he was very drunk that day. Though I can't that train up that train up there. Was a nightmare.
Just the filming of the whole city's roof looks really, really good in the in the video as well in the vlog. Callum, any advances on that, mate? We've got a couple of score draws. Harry's going for it in a contested one.
I'm going to go with 1-1. I just think that it's just going to be a very tight game and we're going to come away with a solid point. I think it's going to be. I think we're going to play well, but I don't think we'll score 2. I just feel like we're going to just be a very, very tough, defensive, solid start of 90 minutes and we'll get a 1-1 draw. And I'm probably going to go, do you know, I've had this thing ever since this week that Cooper's going to score a header from a corner on Saturday. So I'm going to go for Cooper to score, actually. Put it out there.
I mean, stick him on penalties as well. That penalty might work.
Yeah, definitely.
It's unbelievable penalty, that. Absolutely
mate,
unbelievable.
When he was walking up to the ball, all I could think about, I was sitting right above the goal. I thought, Brighton.
Yeah, when he's guy there, right?
And then to be fair, he's put it away, and I was like,
Clark didn't just put it away, buried it as well, stuck it in that ball corner. What you got, Char?
Yeah, do you know what? I think you look at it as a whole. I think you've got to take into the account of what Alex Neil has done. We have got the best away of the season last year. I don't think that's going to change in some aspect. You know, I feel like you also have to look at the sides of every single year in the Championship. You're going to pick out your front runners, and there's always teams that have done unbelievable business. You look at Sheffield last year. You look at other teams, and they just kind of fall short, or they just don't come up to the races. And I'm hoping that's what's going to be the case on Saturday. I think we are going to win out the game 1-0, but I don't think it's going to be the same 1-0 as it was last year. I think it might even be along the same lines of probably how it was on Saturday with QPR. I just don't think we're going to be up to the mark, but I don't think they're going to be pretty great either. And I do think, although I just said it's not going to be the same as last year. It'll be more of a convincing 1-0. We'll just see the game out.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And Connor's gone with a 1-1 Lisby to score. I'm actually going to, second part of Connor's comment there, I think Lisby scores as well. I just, from all the things that I've watched with Lisby, the videos that I've seen, his style of play, that arriving into the box, the back stick, I think we'll get lots of crosses into the box. I can see us being very direct. I think Lisby's going to find himself on the end of one. I do think Lisby gets on the score sheet, and I think that Caleb Taylor gets on the score sheet. I think we win 2-1. I think we go 1-0 down in the game, and I think that we then force ourselves to be a bit more expansive, because I think, to Harry's point, I think you're correct that I think we'll try and soak it up. I think we'll then try and let the game settle. We'll try and find our rhythm and then try and open them up. But I think we'll go 1-0 down, and then I think we'll win 2-1 with Lisby and Taylor getting on the score sheet, and it'd be a great way to open the season. The 1885 show says 1-1 Coburn from me. That is Dan sitting in the background, the moderator of the chat. He thinks 1-1 Coburn's gonna score. Brilliant then, lads. But before we do get out of here, one final thought from yourselves, Jordan.
Yeah, I think, look, at the start of this show, I said I'm optimistic for this season. And I think we really do need to hold some faith in the boys and Neil and the rest of the team, coaching team and the players. I think it'll be an exciting season. We just have to back the boys, and hopefully we can grind out some results where maybe we would have lost last season. And I think hopefully we can push and just improve where we possibly can.
Yeah, agreed. Matt, final thoughts while we move around the room, and get your final thoughts in chat.
Yeah, echo what Jordan says, really. You know, it isn't going to be, the league ain't going to be won or lost on Saturday. It's a long way to go. You know, we'll follow me through the good times and the bad times and the dreadful time. And I look forward to our next show, where we'll find another random footballer that Harry will mention.
No, it'll still be Danny and Gesson. It will still be Danny and Gesson.
Honestly, you're never, ever going to get him off of that train, mate. He's dedicated. Like, there's three things you're dedicated to in life, right? It's your wife, your football team, and Danny and Gesson. That's where Harry's at.
That's a t-shirt there, mate. In the mode.
He must mention it about 1,000 times in the group chat every single.
He loves it.
He
loves it. He loves it. Appreciate you, Mark. Thank you very much for tuning in. Callum, final thoughts. Oh no, Harry. No, not you. Get off, Callum. You're not even on my screen. Harry's on my screen.
I'll just leave.
I want to talk to Harry, not you. I'm joking. Harry, final thoughts, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're just echoing each other here. I mean, like Matt said, the season isn't lost if we go up there and lose 2-0. At the same time, we haven't won the league. We don't win 2-0. All we've got to do is, we know it's a long, hard season. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be points of the season where we feel like we're falling down the table at a fast rate. And at the same time, we'll probably go and win 5 in a row, and it feels like we're going to come for the league title. It's about sticking, as a team, and this is what we did so well last season, was we grinded out results and it weren't pretty. And I feel like that's going to have to be the way Saturday, and probably for the August and September. Like you said, we've seen a lot of tough fixtures in the next 2 months. So we've just got to grind out results. And then once our new signings and some of our key players come back and mould them back into the team, ideally we have a good August and we can actually turn around to the likes of 𝗬𝗓, Ivanovic and whoever's coming back and go, actually, you can have that extra week rehab because we're doing okay anyway. Rather than having to rush them back and then risk re-injury. Yeah, let's get behind the boys on Saturday. If it's a slow start, it's a slow start, but it's a long season.
Yeah, absolutely. Callum.
My turn. Yeah, can I talk now?
Your turn now. Come back, Callum. Come.
No, listen, it's just lovely to be back, to have proper football back. Not the World Cup. Proper EFL football's back.
He says with an England shirt on.
Yeah, well, listen, you've got to represent the country after all, but... No, look, it's great to be back, boys. Lovely to see everyone again, doing these podcasts again. It's great. And yeah, let's just hope for a result on Saturday. And we've got a tough start. But I just think that, we always do better in tough games against tougher opposition. So I'm hopeful that we can get a decent start on our hands rather than be the same slow starters. I just feel like this year might be hopefully a little bit different.
Yeah, no, I agree. Charlie?
Listen, the Championship is probably the most unpredictable league in the world. If you sat here before the end of last season, I looked at the first probably 6 games that we had, and I went, yeah, we'll beat Borough at home, we'll beat Wrexham at home, we'll lose to Norwich away, we'll lose to Sheffield United away. And yeah, it was a complete opposite. We absolutely went to Norwich and won somewhere that we don't win. We went to Sheffield, who are obviously at that time had just come off a 90-point season, And then we obviously got done at home from Borough and Wrexham. So you're going to sit here at the start of the season and look at the first 7 games this year. And again, you're going to go, yeah, we can nick a point against them. Or you never know what's going to happen. But the one thing I am happy about is we probably have the hardest start for the 7 games. And if you can get through that with a decent run, you then get a really good run towards the end of the season when you then return to these type of games again in the return legs. And then you hopefully, and by that point, you've hit the form you need to, like we did last year. We just keep going.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And like 𝗬𝗓𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗕𝗘 says, here we go again. I've got nothing more to add other than a massive, massive thank you to everybody who's joined us tonight. Everyone in the chat has been absolutely incredible. Your support has been incredible. Thank you for making our first live stream, you know, a really, really good one. We really appreciate everybody's comments, and a massive thanks to my incredible team, not all of which you can see on screen, but the people behind the scenes, Dan for his moderation, everybody in the chat, Frankie, everybody involved. Like it's it's been a lot to get to this point, this first live show, but everybody here has been the biggest part of it. So from my own point of view, I'm eternally grateful. So thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to my incredible panel and my incredible team. If you've enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe to the 1885 show. Make sure you got your notifications switched on. We'll be back with the Bristol City cool down after the game, which will be taking place Monday. And yes, it will be a live show. We won't have the full 6 because Harry's going to be away on holiday yet again. But everybody travelling, enjoy the weekend. We will see you down there. I'll be down there. A few of the boys will be down there as well. Charlie and Callum will be down there. And we will see you on the next one.